We are finally concluding the MLP Manga series of videos. Pony Fanboy started it in 2022. He reviewed the first volume, and then Present Media Wiz did a vlog video talking about the second volume. So now, Future Wiz here for the Sidekicks podcast, and we are going to be talking about the third and final volume of the MLP manga. First of all, I just want to highlight that when Media Wiz did his video, he talked about 8 chapters. Apparently he didn't realize that Volume 2 was 9 chapters long, because when I started reading this, the first chapter was the last chapter of Volume 2. That's what Future Wiz is always here to do. Make corrections that past Media Wiz was too dumb to fix himself. As a quick summation, Volume 2 was basically Groundhog's Day or Happy Death Day, but Pinkie Pie was stuck in a time loop, and she ends up going to Dr. Hooves and Derpy, and they end up going on this big Doctor Who-esque adventure. They finally make some resolutions to that Star Dancer pony, who Pinkie thought was a space alien, but she's actually a time traveler pony. And Pinkie ends up breaking the time loop because at the end of Volume 2, she ends up going to Equestria's equivalent of ancient Egypt, and she inscribes that something tells her about the incoming time loop, and she ends up breaking it. And then I think they kind of hint at the fact that maybe Twilight gets stuck in a time loop at the end. So it really is like the ending gag from Happy Death Day 2. I also like how they end that volume with Star Dancer ends up getting put into some kind of big interstellar, intergalactic time prison for her crimes and aiding the Master. But then the Master pony shows up and breaks her out, and it has this kind of, oh, another day, another dungeon kind of feel. It's like, oh, those two, they're up to no good again. In the first chapter of this final volume, Fluttershy has a scavenger hunt going on, and Discord just breezes through it. He finds all the items just by simply snapping his fingers because he's Discord. And her friends thought that was a real dick move, and they say, oh, well, that takes away from the fun of a scavenger hunt. And then we jump forward, as they put it, many moons later, and we see everybody looks like they do in the very last episode of the show, and everyone's super old now. And then Discord shows up out of the blue and says that he has a little scavenger hunt for them because he went back in time and took away the elements of harmony in that first episode where Nightmare Moon showed up, and they really needed to get the elements of harmony to help defeat her. It's pretty much implied that Nightmare Moon sent Celestia to the sun, because at one point it shows Celestia getting a tan, and she's like, I can't wait to go back to the Earth and show everyone my tan, especially my sister. It's something that works with this manga because of its style of humor. So I feel like if they did that in the show, it's like Celestia is not that dumb, but it works in this manga because that's the tone that they're going for. So now Discord sends everybody careening through different times and different parallel universes and multiverses, and now everybody has to try and get the element of harmony in wherever the hell they landed. Fluttershy ends up in a universe where she's super confident and she's like the pony equivalent of a Broadway actress, and it is really funny to see the two of them interact with each other and both boost each other up. Fluttershy from the regular universe tells this new confident Fluttershy that, you know, she's everything that she'd aspire to be, and then this Fluttershy tells her that she can achieve that if she just believed in herself, and it's pretty cute. Rarity ends up in a universe that I can only describe as being like the 80s. It's like that one episode where Cheerilee shows a picture of herself when she was younger, and they comment how, oh, look at her fashion sense, look at her hair, oh, it's so 80s. That's pretty much what everyone looks like in this universe, and it's probably the funniest looking designs out of every one of the chapters. Pinkie Pie ends up in a comic book type universe where Twilight is a masked vigilante by night called the Somber Twilight, and all of her friends are her comic book arch enemies in this universe. The Apple family are like some street gang called like the Bad Apples or something like that, and Spike is just Spike, except it's with a Y instead of an I. And then Pinkie comes across her alternate universe counterpart, and she's pretty much supposed to be like Harley Quinn because she's dressed up in a, you know, villainous Joker's jester outfit. So honestly, I thought she looked less like Harley Quinn, and she looked a lot more like Pomni from Amazing Digital Circus. Rainbow Dash ends up in a universe where her wing got damaged and she wasn't able to complete some kind of big Pegasus event. It wasn't the Sonic Rain Boom because she's still clearly older, everyone still has their cutie marks, but the two of them come across each other, and I like how, of course, the different Rainbow Dashes are constantly competing with one another to try and one-up each other. They even have a race at the end of the chapter to see who's the faster Rainbow Dash, and that was pretty entertaining. I like how Rainbow Dash and Rainbow Dash are so on the same wavelength. They immediately know that Discord was responsible for it. Like Rainbow Dash says, yeah, it's a long story, I don't know how to explain it. Discord, Discord. I like that. That seemed like something Rainbow Dash would totally say if she did come across another version of herself. To call back to volume 1 of the manga, Applejack ends up in the manga anime parody universe from the end of the first volume that Discord created, and she comes across her ninja counterparts and like the sort of Naruto-esque version of her family. Twilight ends up in G1 trying to find her element of harmony. She ends up in the episode where T-Rex showed up and was turning ponies into dragons, or striodons as they called it. She comes across Generation 1 Spike, and of course they become instant best friends, and that was pretty cute. I like how all the ponies in G1, even though they do give them a slightly more anime-esque art style because it's a manga, I like that they are still able to differentiate the G1 ponies from the G4 characters. I thought that was pretty good. But I like that none of the G1 characters can tell their iterations Twilight versus the G4 Twilight. So basically, Twilight goes on this huge adventure. She goes along with the G1 characters as they try to stop T-Rex, and they unleash, you know, the first ever friendship rainbow laser that defeats him. Again, easily one of the best parts of that G1 special. They turn Scorpan back into a prince because that is also what happens in that special. And Twilight gets her element, and then she goes back to her proper timeline. And I like how the end of the chapter, they have a statue built in honor of Twilight, and then their generation's Twilight's like, did I always look like that? And then once everybody ends up in their proper timeline, they show up and defeat Nightmare Moon and turn her back into Luna. Everybody gets aid from their alternate universe counterparts, which is also pretty neat. They turn Nightmare Moon back into Luna, and the timeline is officially put back on course. And I like how, of all things, they decided to end with the ponies basically regenerating again. And the very last panel you see is everyone turns into their Pony Life counterparts. For anyone out there that still remembers Pony Life. You know how everyone calls like newborn cuties and crap like that MLP G3.5? Is it fair to say that Pony Life can be considered MLP G4.5? Like, it's not G5, it's definitely more in vein of G4 because it's got the same characters, but they have like the, you know, the chibi designs, and it's like incredibly reliant more on humor and comedy. Is it fair to call Pony Life G4.5 as like a nickname? Next thing you know, then G5 was on its way, and the G5 comics are connected to G4, and they try to give some backstory there. But that's a video for another day. I do like the first one for how seemingly disconnected all the stories are. It feels like an anthology. But I did like the second volume for having a very Doctor Who-esque kind of story, definitely playing up the whole Doctor Who's character and his relationship with Derpy, and they did a good job fleshing out that Moon Dancer pony character. I did like her, and it was interesting to see a master pony. I thought that was kind of unique. And I really did like the third and final volume a lot. I really liked the different alternate realities and different timelines. You could definitely tell the writers were having fun with that. All the different versions of the main six, them all interacting with themselves. Out of all the chapters, I really enjoyed the G1 chapter with Twilight the most. I really did like them playing with like, oh, what if a G4 character was in this special from G1? And they went with the one that everybody remembers. So this concludes the trilogy of reviews in regards to the MLP manga, A Day in the Life of Equestria.